This video is a more detailed look at the evidence against the existence of Jesus. This is why I left Christianity and why I concluded that Jesus never existed. For more detailed evidence, read Jesus Demigod by Jeff Mitchell on Amazon. First, let's look at the evidence for Jesus today. If Jesus is alive today, he is invisible and unresponsive to prayer. There is no observable evidence for Jesus today. He only exists in the minds of people who believe he exists. He has no observable kingdom or power except in the minds of people who assume he has a kingdom and power. The people who believe in Jesus today are incapable of demonstrating the power or existence of Jesus. They simply make excuses why Jesus does not respond to prayer like he promised he would in the Bible. Secondly, let's look at the possibility that Jesus existed and worked miracles in the first century. Simply put, we have a lot of contradictory stories written about a supernatural Jesus both inside and outside the Bible. None of these stories were written by eyewitnesses, but even if they were written by people who claim to be eyewitnesses, that still would not make the stories true. All we have is legendary stories written by people who could have only been retelling stories they heard others tell. All the Jesus stories were written in the Greek language. The Greeks are famous for writing mythological stories about gods and demigods. The only way Jesus could distinguish himself from other mythology is to demonstrate that his power is not just imaginary or literary, and I've already demonstrated in this video he can't. Just because other people believe a story is not evidence the story is true. People have always believed lies were true. If people died for Jesus, that only proves Jesus had no power to save them. Thirdly, let's look at the possibility Jesus was a real Jewish man who had no superpowers. This is the mainstream scholarly position. No legitimate scholar believes Jesus was divine or worked miracles because the only evidence for any miracle is in a written story. Many kings and mythical characters worked miracles in ancient literature, but there is no rational reason to believe any of those claims are true. Christians simply believe the biblical claims are true because they've been brainwashed to believe the Bible is true and that all other miraculous claims are false. So if Jesus was a normal Jewish man, that means the Bible is unreliable mythology, and if Jesus didn't heal the sick or resurrect from the dead, that means Christianity is a false religion built on lies. When you realize the Romans are who pushed Christianity on the world with threats of violence, and that the Romans were actively engaged in multiple wars with the Jewish people at the same time Christianity developed, then you can understand why a Greek story was written about a dead Jewish Messiah who rebuked and threatened the destruction of the Jews. Jesus, Paul, and the Romans were all enemies of the Jews. Christianity is just the Roman replacement religion for Judaism.